Howdy, everyone. Welcome back to a wonderful another episode of Texish, the show about some things Texas.
And some things not.
We've got an incredible interview with the legendary,
the beautiful,
the tall,
the meatless,
the gritty Robbie Balenger coming up for you.
Tito's and Shiner, gonna be an all-nighter. Just might find her at the Whataburger line. Dance halls and women, but man, I'm wishing that I was fishing by the river tonight in Texas.
But first, as always, before we go any further, your favorite segment
and ours.
Our not sponsored.
Not sponsors.
No money.
Zero cred.
Like literally zero.
Like nothing.
Help. No,
like
we
it
help
doesn't
them.
matter how good we do.
It's a toxic
They're
relationship.
not going to give us anything.
We give them, they give nothing.
They give nothing.
Want to know who our first not sponsor is?
Who's our first not sponsor?
Our first not sponsor of today's episode of Texish is Lone Star.
Lone Star.
Lone Star. It's like polluted Topo Chico. Lone Star. It's like if sewer water went through a vat of yeast. Lone Star. Different flavors like a can of White Claw, but it's actually beer. Lone Star.
It's what your stepdad drinks.
Lone Star.
It's basically water. Lone Star.
Lone Star.
Ooh.
Co Wetzel's water.
Lone Star. I've got more, but I feel like we should keep it right there.
I thought of that in the bathroom.
That
I
was
was like,
nice.
wait, what if I was like,
I don't know if I can top it.
well, try. Who's
Okay,
our
hold on.
other not sponsor?
Our other not sponsor is Odessa, Texas.
Odessa, Texas.
It's the stripper capital of West Texas, making it the worst place to go to a strip club.
Odessa, Texas.
Odessa, more like Hodessa.
Odessa, Texas.
Do you want to do meth while also doing heroin, while also being arrested, while also drunk, while also being the coach of a high school football team? Odessa, Texas.
Legitimately, one time I heard a stat that more people hook up in the dressing rooms at Sears versus actually trying on clothes at the Odessa Mall. Odessa, Texas.
The dirtiest place in West Texas.
The highway between Odessa and Pecos is called Death Highway. Odessa, Texas. Midland's armpit.
Where happiness goes to die.
Where happiness never existed. Except for in 1986 and 1989 when they won the state championship. Go Mojo.
Go Mojo.
Odessa, Texas. You just jealous because you from Midland, right? Who paying you? You from Midland, right? Who paying you?
But for real, Odessa. Please bleep the
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys, for the bleep.
Sorry. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now that the shenanigans is out of the way,
No more shenanigans.
we have a mostly serious interview with ultra athlete, plant-based athlete. I mean, again, just all around incredible guy.
human.
And you're going to know that from moment one. And what's great about talking to Robbie is it's not just to talk about running, it's to talk about opening restaurants, about the things you learn from things like running, about doing hard things. And I don't know. I just hope people get a taste for how incredible of a guy he is through this interview.
I hope so too. It was wonderful to meet him, and I can't wait to hang out with him outside of a professional environment.
Yeah,
because he's just such a cool guy.
Can't wait for the mics to be turned off so we can talk more about said sponsor. You'll get that reference here in about 20 minutes.
Without further ado,
Robbie Balenger.
All right. There we
Sound
go.
of it. Cheers, everybody.
guys.
Welcome to the interview portion of the Texish Podcast, where selfishly I'm the most excited I've ever been. But we are very fortunate and lucky that the legendary, amazing, all around just amazing dude, kind person, Robbie Balenger, has sat down at the Texish Podcast. Robbie, welcome, man.
Thank you, guys. I'm stoked to be here.
so good to have you.
So
Yeah.
stoked to have you. And for anyone that's about to be like, are they talking to a runner again? I mean, yes,
Yes.
but there's So much more to talk about, down to I let you into the studio a few minutes ago and you're immediately like, I've spent so much time in this building.
A lot.
Like, so you lived in Texas before Colorado. You've done some stuff in Austin. What specifically, how did you know this building? Because no one knows what this building is.
Yeah. And this is like third rendition I've seen. So I moved here in 07, was here 07 to 2017.
Okay.
And quickly befriended a guy, Dean Frederick, and he was a jewelry designer. And his studio was in this building.
Okay.
We threw parties here, like many parties.
Yeah.
To the point that there used to be like a crack house behind this building.
Nice.
And we rented it out and we gutted it and put a bar in it. We used to throw late night
Did
parties.
you rent it from the crackheads or was that kind of like
no. You
did hire
we had to get them out.
Yeah. Okay,
and then we cleaned it up a little bit, but not too much, you know.
Yeah.
You got to get a little dirty.
Like
it had some grime to it for sure.
Yeah.
We put a big deck on the back and we had a stage. And we started just throwing like late night parties, and then we started throwing parties for hire.
Yeah,
like doing a lot of after parties for ACL for fun back in the day.
Before,
which is such a fun festival.
Yeah,
such a cool.
I remember seeing Sword. That was like my first metal concert experience at Fun Fest was Sword.
Austin needs Fun Fest.
It really does.
It really it should come back.
I think it should. It's wasted on Houston.
On everything's wasted on Houston, including the Astros. Anyway. And so what brought you to Austin in 2007?
It was like post early 20s wanderlust. I grew up in Georgia, but my mom's family was kind of Dallas area. And then my aunt had moved here.
Okay.
And I was coming back from living in the Virgin Islands. And this was like made a logical sense of a place to land.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to stay like 6 months a year.
Okay.
But like, what a great place to celebrate your 20s.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
I had a really good time. It was definitely not a runner at that point.
Yeah.
And it was more just partying. I rode like fixed gear bikes around town.
Nice.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So I love Austin. It's still like so much of my heart's here. If there were big mountains here, we wouldn't have left.
Yeah.
And every time my wife and I come back, we're like, shit, should we move back?
just a half your house or something?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But her parents live here.
Okay.
So we have a home here pretty much.
Yeah.
Can hang
that's
out
awesome,
when we want
man.
to.
And I met your wife yesterday.
Yeah.
Lovely. Just
Yeah,
the
she's
kindest people.
Yeah.
I got home and said actually, it was kind of embarrassing because I was at Flat Track working and Coffee was doing his job. So I went to the bathroom and did a thing. And then I opened the door and literally bump into you.
Yeah, we like chest bump,
and we say hi, and then I'm like, oh no, he's about to go in there.
right.
And he's gonna know that it was me.
Yeah, no, you were good. You didn't leave any traces.
Oh, thank you. Cool. But I got home to my wife and was like, saw Robbie, met his wife, the nicest people.
Yeah.
So kind.
Well, she's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't take too much credit, but
Heck yeah.
she's amazing.
Running a small business is incredibly hard when you have no idea how to market it or brand it clearly. Small business owners, small business operators across the country work so hard to make products and services that they are proud of, but almost always hit a plateau in growth. That's why Creators Collective is here to help. For years, we have helped businesses triple, quadruple, even 5 times their revenue by creating branding and marketing content that clarifies your brand and drives sales. So if you are at a bottleneck or at a plateau, trying to grow your small business, even stay in business, make sure to visit creatorscollective.us right now. Schedule a call so we can find out what services you need, how we can work with you, and make sure that we can boost your bottom line so that you can grow as a business. And so were you already involved in like the restaurant bar space when you moved here? Did that sort of just come about over time?
Yeah, no, I think I was 16. I started working at a country club in my hometown, and then found when I got like flunked out of college, was just like fucking off. I was doing the party part of college, but the school part.
You were getting an A in some areas.
Yeah. And so I realized I could travel by working in the industry. It's like a great way. So I initially moved up to Alaska, did like a long summer up there.
Okay.
And then met friends up there who lived in the Virgin Islands. And so I was like, that sounds like a good place. So I went down there again, thought I was going to stay 2 months and ended up, or 6 months and stayed like 2.5 years.
Wow.
And then when that was over, I got island fever, a little small island in the Caribbean, came here.
That's awesome. And were you doing like bar backing or bartending?
I was like front of the house, like server and then bartender as well. And then when I got here, it was a lot behind the bar for a long time.
Okay.
Wine bar downtown that's no longer around called Mulberry.
Okay. I remember Mulberry.
Yeah. It was a fun scene.
It was a cool scene. I was here from, college 2010 to 2014.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
those were good days around.
Those are good days. I think I remember the stage as well.
Yeah.
Because that was back when you walk through the east side, and there's like that stopping point where you hit the Grackle, and it's like there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Grackle and Whitehorse.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about
mind-boggling.
Yeah. You're just like, what is going on here?
Different scene.
Sure. Like it's safe.
Yeah. Like I remember the first time going to Liberty, right?
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
We were walking back, and there was a guy, like an old East Side guy, and he was standing out. There was just a crowd of like hipsters coming. And he puts his hands up and he goes, "Look at all these motherfuckers." And that was, we were like, oh man, like, and now look at it, it's crazy. There's like Whole Foods around the corner.
And a Target on top of it.
Right.
Freaking crazy. And when you were here, did you see that coming at all? Or when y'all had that bar over here, were y'all like,
I mean,
we're
you
be
knew it was
place?
kind of happening, I feel like.
Yeah.
But then it was like 2015, 16, and all of a sudden it was just like, whoa, what just happened? And since it's just more and more.
Yeah.
And I think I see it more now because I don't live here.
Right.
So it's like, it's like a lobster in a pot. If you're here, I think you probably don't feel it like when you come back every 4 to 6 months, and then you're like, geez, like where'd that come from?
Yeah. Do you think, we're going to get to running and stuff, but do you think that the change, especially on the east side, but throughout Austin, is good, bad, neutral?
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
You know, like why are we going to bitch about it?
Yeah.
It's just like growth happens. And like, I hate that a lot of people have been displaced here, but it was always like, it's central, and that's what's going to happen when things go out. So it's just different. I mean, I loved the East Side in 2000. 8, 9, you know? Now it's great. It's still good.
It's cool. Yeah. It's like Dallas a little bit, but it's cool.
It's changed. For sure.
It's cool.
Yeah. But Austin is still the coolest town in America. Like, no matter how much I can get bitter, which I do internally sometimes about the growth.
That's all of us.
Yeah. But you're like, you go anywhere else, and you're like, it's still
Austin.
Yeah. That's awesome. What are like your 3 favorite things about Austin?
It has such a strong identity. Austin knows what it is.
Yeah.
And like, especially establishments. Like, again, I was in the restaurant bar scene for so long, and I feel like everybody here does something creative. It's usually of pretty high quality, and you don't really find that everywhere. Like I lived in Denver for 4 years after here, and Denver doesn't know what the fuck it is. Like it's.
Can we just talk about how much Denver sucks really quick?
So Gunner's a badass in his own right. Ran Leadville 100.
Not
at all. We stayed in Denver for a couple days, and we both hated it
from moment
from
one.
the jump.
Yeah,
we were like, this is the worst town.
Yeah, I mean, like, luckily, my friend, Rob Barlow, he did Nolan's.
Yes, the name rings a bell.
Yeah, he did Nolan's this past summer.
Okay.
Know him through a mutual friend. He let us stay at his place. But we get there and we're like, there's nowhere to eat around here. Because when you get to Austin, it's like throw a stone.
It's everywhere.
You're going to hit a good meal. We're like, you can't find anywhere to eat. The next morning, it took 3 different Googles to get to a coffee shop to work. And the coffee shop we got to was a roastery with 2 tables. So it was super loud.
Not conducive to work at all.
Just everything about it, we were like, we need to get to Leadville right now.
Yeah.
I think we packed up and left like that day.
We did. We were like, we're leaving now. This place, there's a reason the airport sucks. It's because the town sucks.
God, it was weird. Anyway, that's our Denver rant.
It's kind of bland.
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing anybody could say about Denver.
Yeah, Denver's like if East Austin, like the gentrified part of East Austin, farted out a stepchild.
I wish that's what it was like.
Like that's kind of what it was like.
I feel like Denver is Dallas after 10 years of meth. Like
that's a good. So it degraded a little bit.
Yeah.
Denver's like the Coles Cash of cities. I think that's how I'd put it.
Anyway, Austin has its own identity.
It has its own identity.
Yeah.
What are the other 2 things?
Really strong identity. Barton Springs.
Oh,
best.
You know, like
Best.
if it's
Topless side or not topless side?
They both are great.
All right,
you know?
cool.
Yeah. Like if it's gonna be this fucking hot, like if it's the only like reprieve from that. So I think that's really important. And the food scene. I mean, it's just such a good food scene. I was I really was a big part of it when I was here, and I still feel very connected to it.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like there's such good food. There's so much talent. I have so many friends here that are so talented in that space.
What was it like getting something started in that time frame? Because I remember that time frame, and that was when a lot of things were popping off. You had like the Perlas and the Elizabeth Streets popping up. You had a couple mom and pops. That was when like Key was getting started.
Yeah,
those
totally.
Things. So what was it like whenever you got your hands dirty in that industry?
Well, starting off, I was just behind a bar there.
Yeah.
The place was already established, and it was just fun. I was just, coasting along, enjoying it, making good money. And then Bufalina Pizza, they just reopened their second original location here on East Season.
Second original.
And so I was with that from the beginning. I oversaw operations, was part owner eventually. And it was hell getting it open.
Yeah.
Like just the permitting process. It's just so laborious here and so antiquated, especially for the amount of growth. Like they should get this shit together.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, they still haven't,
Right.
So that was very challenging. But it was also, it's just like Austin, I think it's like the inverse of Denver in that Denver, everybody leaves that town and goes to the mountains every weekend.
Yeah.
Where Austin, there ain't shit around here.
Yeah.
So everybody they focus in.
Yeah.
So everybody like wants to be a part of what's happening. It creates like, there's a crowd, like there's an audience for whatever you want to create.
Yeah.
So like, that's really nice. It's conducive to allowing people to be creative and create cool shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And how did you get looped into the Bufalina group, like getting into the operations and getting into the ownership? Because that's one of and arguably the best pizza
Absolutely.
in Austin.
It's definitely a contender.
Yeah. And so how I got in, when I was working at this wine bar downtown, I had a regular there. And I actually moved to California for like 8 months. I went out there to grow weed.
Nice.
Yeah.
You didn't smoke it at all though, right?
None whatsoever.
Yeah, just agrarian.
Yep, absolutely.
Just really into horticulture.
We had like a going away party for me at the place. And this regular was like, man, I really hate to see you go. And I was like, I hate to leave, but maybe I'll see you around. He's like, no, I was actually just about to see if you would help us open this pizzeria I'm going to invest in. One of my really good friends wants to open it. He's never been in the industry, but he's very knowledgeable about food and wine.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, thanks, but I'm out.
Yeah.
And the California thing, it was a bunch of like Trustafari and like, and I was like, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And so I decided to come back, reconnected with them. And I remember, like, if you think about the progression of Austin or the east side, I was sitting on like the edge of a pot plant. They were in like big pots. And I got on the phone with the main proprietor of Bufalina, Stephen Dilly. And I was like, all right, man, like we had never met in person. I was like, where do you want to open this place? He's like, I just got a lease at Cesar Chavez in Kamal. And I was like, ooh, that's a reach, man. Yeah, I don't know if people are going to come over there.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny now to see what's
well, I mean, it's the same when Laz opened. People were kind of like,
why'd you open it there?
Pretty far down there, man.
Now
it's like central.
Yeah. And so that was it. Like I moved back to town. Talking about it took forever to open because of this permitting process, which created a whole thing. I ended up running Hotel Vegas for a while.
No way.
Interim before like Tweety and those guys took it over and actually made it like what it is. Place. It was a shit show. When I was running it. But anyways, so then we opened Bufalina, and Steven is extremely knowledgeable about food and wine and very talented, and it changed my perception of food. It elevated me. It just was like a master's degree.
Yeah.
A couple weeks.
Yeah. How did it elevate you?
It just turned on to like so much more a higher thought of cuisine and wine, especially. Like I was very much at that time, I thought of wine and it's very like and it's very like California big cabs. And like if anybody that knows wine has been to Bufalina, it's like much more funky, natural wine. Yeah. I didn't even know that shit existed.
Yeah. The orange wines are there.
Yeah.
All that find stuff. That. Yeah. Anywhere
and
else.
at that time, there was no natural wine scene in Austin.
Zero.
Yeah. And Steven, like, our first meeting, he showed up and he put a bottle of Ochapinti SP68. It's this amazing Italian wine. And he's like, take this home. This is the kind of where the wine list is going to go. And I sat down and put the whole bottle to my head because it was so delicious. I was like, this is incredible. Yeah. And so that was just it. And I really feel like Bufalina helped to really quicken the process of the Austin food scene kind of to where it is now, especially from beverage side. The wine program that he put in place is still, I mean, there's 800 bottles on the list down here.
I mean, you could argue without Bufalina, there would be no natural wine program here.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly
it turned on all of the people within the industry because it was like a clubhouse for everybody in the industry. Everybody, Sunday nights, we called it the clubhouse. And it was essentially just everybody from every other restaurant. So all these somms, all these beverage directors, and you could see them come in and be like, light bulbs
what is
going
this?
on.
Yeah.
And it was like that bottle of Ochapinti, we had the whole allocation for the year.
Wow.
Fast forward 2 years later, Steven's like, hey, I got one last chance to get in the whole allocation, but we ain't got room in here for it.
Right.
And I was
crap.
like, this is very illegal. We
No one's watching.
We stored it all in my house. And it was like up against a wall, like in my condo.
Right.
That's awesome.
And like by the end of it, he's like, I was kind of keeping inventory. There's like a couple cases short. And I was like, taxed you, brother.
Yeah, my bad, man.
Not even pretending. Just like, that's
I know where it went.
Brad's got that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just cool because like now you can find natural wine at Figure 8 Coffee.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
it just
everybody's
is everywhere.
turned on
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still go to Wink and get purple teeth if you want.
That's true.
But, hey, it's still an option.
Hey, Wink's a classic.
Wink is a
I
classic.
mean, it was Uchi and Wink when I moved here.
Yeah.
That was the scene. Like, that
Gucci
was-
Wink, and you had like the Spio down on South
Yeah,
Congress.
totally. And I used to eat there a lot. I lived on South Congress when I first moved.
Loved it
here.
for lunch, but it was a little antiquated for dinner.
Yeah.
Like
I did
yeah.
it in a Teca site. Like
You know,
the
Teca,
more-
yeah,
Such a
like
good
Teca
spot.
side for sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Carbonara and Pellegrino. San Pellegrino was my hangover. cure.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
That's the move.
That's the move. He knows how to do it.
Yeah.
he does.
What was, I mean, when you were here in that scene, like if it was going to be date night, what was the spot? Like, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm ordering.
I mean, it was then. I mean, those were your choices if you were going to like,
Really?
impress somebody.
Pretty
There
much,
wasn't
yeah.
a lot going on, but
Yeah.
we went to Polos a lot. You know,
Sure.
Nothing wrong
I
with
don't know if
Polos,
it was really
man.
late, but
Yeah.
A little margaritas,
it was like,
chips and salsa.
Yeah. If you said Baby A's, I'd be like, whoa.
yeah,
We'd be like, oh, well, you're not from Austin.
yeah.
That's the opposite of natural wine for sure. Just a black margarita.
So something. There's a common theme with like carbonara and pizza that
Yeah.
does have like a lot of cheese products on it.
Yeah.
And there is something about you that's interesting.
Yeah.
You are a vegan athlete.
Yeah, plant-based.
Plant-based,
You know,
okay.
Yeah, I you know, there's like, I go with plant-based for some, like just the cement. It makes more sense to me. It allows people to come into it with less like judgment and
Yeah.
judgment placed on them for their decisions. And, you know, it's something that I do hold as like a cornerstone of my diet. I think like there's a little flex right now trying to understand what really makes sense to me.
Sure.
A little
Yeah.
bit. We were in Italy recently and we ate some cheese, you know,
Yeah,
and it was just
absolutely.
like,
Were your farts good or was it
yeah,
like,
right.
It's like if you're in Italy and you can't eat the cheese, like
What's the point going to Italy?
What's the point? Yeah.
You know, and it's
Yeah,
like, I
exactly.
think post COVID, I kind of had a moment of just like, life's about living it. And like this is something that works for me on a health standpoint. I believe in it environmentally, but like there's times in life when you like need to just live. And that was important in that situation.
Like
So-
literally win in Rome.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly.
First time that's ever happened. Well, and when did a plant-based diet come into the picture for you?
Yeah,
right.
Like, it was
because I was curious if it was running first, then plant-based, or
Yeah.
plant-based, then running.
So running Bufalino was an amazing experience. It was also very stressful. It would the place was just wildly busy from day
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
and I probably wasn't fully equipped for it. I was young. I was still partying a lot, and so there was a lot of like staying up really late, hungover in the morning, and like going and trying to be this leader of this restaurant. And I just started dating a girl who's now my wife, and she had done a marathon, and she invited me out on like a 2.5 mile run.
Nice.
And for me, it quickly helped to just shift where I placed importance in life. Like I still, you know, I'm drinking a Lone Star. Like I'm not sober by no means, but I realized that I could find balance through running. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, running came
Okay.
much earlier.
And were you had you been in athletics at all growing up, or did
Yeah.
running kind of just come out of nowhere?
I played team sports. I was
Okay.
pretty good at football. But like weirdly, I was an offensive lineman. I played
What?
tackle. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was
Yeah.
pretty thick.
Ah,
I
gotcha.
wasn't
Okay.
a big lineman, but I was a lot bigger than I am now.
Fair.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like quick feet. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And then up until I got into running here, I rode quick fixed gear bicycles.
Okay.
But it was more like those like what do they call them, like the full moon rides?
Yeah.
And then
sure.
just to cruise between bars and shit.
Yeah. Do a crawl. Have some fun.
Yeah, that was really what. And like
get the
commuting,
DUI.
I didn't have a car for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I moved from the Virgin Islands where there was no concept of a DUI on the island. So I was like, if I'm moving somewhere where they could lock me up for this shit, I'm
Yeah.
not driving.
Yeah. Just no car. Get rid of the temptation.
Yeah.
And look, when you're in party mode, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. And I like again, I switched the paradigm. I don't, you know, the partying's not there like it was, but like I don't regret a moment of that shit. It was so much fun.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
The 20s, celebrate the shit out of them. I say, like, if you want to keep doing it as long as you want, but just it's like the moment something doesn't work for you, don't be trapped by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Be able, like, find a way out, find something new. And for me, that was running.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
running came much sooner. And then I used running to kind of process the stresses of running this restaurant. And but it happened quickly. It was like half marathon after 2 months, marathon like pretty soon after that, 50 miler the next year. And though all the running, it finally added up and I just felt burnt out. So we decided to move to Denver for my wife to go to nursing school. And I gave up my shares in the restaurant. And when we got there is when I right before going, I went back down to the Virgin Islands. Hurricane Irma and Maria hit, and I was going to go travel abroad after leaving the restaurants for a while. And then that happened, and I would have felt like such a dick, like going to Southeast Asia to like just hang out when I got friends that just lost everything. So I went down there to help with the relief efforts. And I think I had a moment of just like, wow, climate change is very real, and it's really devastated this place. And I came back and I felt very powerless, but I found that through a plant-based diet, it's like a great way to mitigate, a personal way to mitigate the perils of climate change. And so that was very appealing. And then I found with running, it increased my performance. Okay. So it was like right when we moved to Denver, I started moving in that direction.
Gotcha. And how, like, in what ways could you tell it was enhancing your performance?
Recovery time being one of the biggest things. Like meat causes inflammation causes soreness. And if you can eliminate that aspect, then you can train harder. Like I used to go from where I'd run like a 20-mile run and then I'd hobble around the house the next morning. Yeah. All of a sudden I was just bouncing up and I'd be like, let's just go run 20 more miles. And therefore like I could increase the load and just become stronger. I think that is the biggest thing I know.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Again, we'll get to running in a minute, but what do you think is maybe one or two of the biggest misconceptions of like being a plant-based athlete or just even having a plant-based diet?
I think there is just still a lot of connections between like protein, meat, strength. And like there's so many avenues to find protein outside of animal like protein. I think that's a huge one. I think the word vegan and strong vegans have really created this thing where it's like all or nothing, and there's judgment behind it, and that doesn't really work for me. Like if you're gonna look down on other people, you're never gonna convince them to come and change their ways. So I think that's a big thing. It's just like loosening it up a little bit. That's why I say like plant-based, so people can find their own space in it.
For sure. Well, it's because do you think now when people say vegan, militant vegan kind of pops in the head pretty quick?
I think so, and I think that's why plant-based is like entered the lexicon, is because there's a lot of people that have identified that as kind of an issue. And I say like I have a lot of people within the vegan advocacy space that I respect what they do a lot. It just doesn't work for me, and I don't see it in my attitude as being a way to encourage others to kind of lean into that a little bit more. And it also leaves out this part of the conversation that I think is pretty interesting, is because it's like this all or nothing, it removes this conversation about quality of animal products. Like, you know, some people are just never going to give that up. But so like not all food is created equal, even within like the animal product space. Like eating a burger from McDonald's that's sourced from deforestation in the Amazon is much different than a like grass-fed bison. You know, there's just like there's so much difference in that. And so we lose that conversation if you're like 110% or nothing. Like, and that's I think a problem with that side of advocacy.
And that's where like Taylor Collins, who, you know, used to be a plant-based athlete, kind of comes in and has their space to promote, you know, well-sourced meat protein.
I think it's an important conversation. I don't know if it's where I'll go. I don't know. But I think that should be open for conversation. I grew up in rural Georgia. Like, all my buddies from home, you're not going to convince them to quit eating steak.
Like you'll never convince me to quit.
You don't want me to eat a cow?
But like you could, you know, if you have like the means, and there's places where you can still like make your dollars count by going with like high quality stuff. And that's from a environmental standpoint and also an ethical. Because like and for health.
And for your health.
Like the stress hormones in an animal that's treated poorly.
I don't want any of that.
And it's going to come straight to you. Like, energy doesn't cease. It's going to end up in your body. And it's a little heady, but it's still going to suck. Like it's not going to be good for you or your mindset or your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And so back to, you went on that first 2.5 mile run. And was it pretty, I mean, you said 2 months to half marathon. So was it just pretty quick of like, I like this. I want to keep going and keep going.
Yeah. It was like the inverse of a drug, right? You do a drug, you feel great while you do it, and you feel like shit afterwards. Running, especially when you're getting started, you feel like shit while you're doing, but you feel great afterwards. And I really liked that. That made a lot more sense. It resonated with me at that point in life. And so that's what became infectious. Like I could eliminate the anxiety. I could eliminate the stress by going and doing something good for my body. And it just, for me, I never worried about getting faster. I always just wanted to go further. Further. And that's always been my pursuit. It's like, I'm not a fast runner. Like I was joking the other day, like I'm actually a mediocre runner. I just hide behind the fact that I'll go further than any of you.
Like I'll just not stop before anyone.
As long as I don't stop.
then eventually I'm going to beat you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, hey, if you can beat a Tesla,
Yeah, right.
there you go.
Outlast.
That was admittedly gunner is my entrance into the running space. I ran a little bit in track in high school, but only recently have kind of gotten back into it. There's a whole thing there, but it's not important. Anyway, so I knew of you kind of tangentially, and he, shot me the documentary, and it was awesome. First of all, like, I just love the way that you framed the entire race.
Yeah.
And I love that you chose to do it in the hottest part of the summer.
Actually, it wasn't.
It was in
early
March, April.
It wasn't supposed to be
but
that
it was.
hot.
It was so hot, right?
Scorcher. Yeah.
And so humid.
It was predictive of what the summer would be, honestly.
Yeah.
Truly. But yeah, I love everything about that.
Yeah.
So I was curious, what sparked that idea?
It was it was a conversation between me and a previous sponsor, and it was about we'll leave it there. But I was like interested in like Cocodona 250, big 250 mile race in Arizona.
And so you were interested in the second year or the inaugural one?
Second year. Yeah, after watching Vertige do what he did.
Yeah.
Watching the little documentary about that and reading his race report. If you haven't read Michael Vertige's race report, Google it. It's really, really incredible.
Link right here.
Yeah. It's really, really. If you're into like Hunter S. Thompson, Gonzo journalism.
Oh, yeah.
It was written by a friend of his, Adam. I just found out.
Yeah. If you like Anton Krapicka and Hunter S. Thompson,
this is where you go.
This is what you need.
This is what you need in your life. But yeah, I was interested in that distance, and said sponsor was like, we're interested in doing a relay to outlast the battery life of a Tesla. We'll bring a group of runners together. And we started looking at the distance it would be. And we saw that the Model 3 was about 250. And I was like, fuck that.
You're like,
I'll
I'll
just
just
do it. Like, you don't need any other runners.
Yeah.
Let's just do this. And like,
plus that sponsor doesn't have a lot of real runners anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And so it just piqued their interest, and I was down to do it. And we just started figuring it out.
Heck yeah. What made y'all zero in on Texas specifically?
I'm starting to accumulate a lot of large efforts, and I'm finding that geography really matters to me.
Yeah.
I do them in places that resonate with me.
Robbie's run across America, by the way.
like,
so when he says large efforts, he mean like this Tesla race is so minimal compared to, which we'll talk about that too. But keep going.
So again, space, like place mattered. And I really like West Texas, like Marfa area. I mean, I love it around
We're
here.
from that area.
Oh, really?
So, oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Andrews out by Midland, Odessa.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
all
awesome.
small town
Yeah.
kids.
It's really cool and beautiful out there.
From
right?
Mars, man.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
But the initial idea for me, I proposed to do like out Marfa area.
Yeah.
My thought was it's straight, high plains.
Not a lot of cars.
Yeah, we can just like capture it really well.
Yeah.
And like
those shots would have been gorgeous.
Yeah.
Too.
But the lack of cars have been cool. But then it was like brought to me, they were like, it's just going to be too hard to get everybody out there. Like
Said
it was just so far.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Dumb.
That's sponsor. So then it was like, let's do it around Austin. And I was like, fuck guys, like there's a difference between the plains and the hill country.
Right.
Yeah.
This just got a lot harder.
Yeah.
But,
You're like, I know I trained in
like,
Colorado.
let's do it.
But
Yeah. And so that was kind of how it ended up being around Austin. And then a good friend of mine and my wife's, Mallory and Jason Brooks, they used to live here. They're now in Colorado. Very familiar with the area. They're race directors.
Okay.
And so she created the route.
Hill of Life on Instagram,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, real good friends of ours.
Heck yeah.
She created the route. I question whether we were friends during it.
There's that little section in the middle of the doc, I think, where you're just like, what did I do to her?
Yeah, what did I do to piss her off? That's what I said. Yeah. So yeah, that was how it all came together. And then we just went for it,
Nice.
Sent it.
I have a question, but I do have to say, and it's such a little part, but I think only like other runners can see this part and identify, like make that their favorite part. I think it's day one or maybe like the beginning. It's the beginning of day two, and you're running on the shoulder of the highway and a truck honks at you.
I love that.
And you just go, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, yes, that is what it feels like. Anytime a car honks at you when you're on the side of the road.
Totally.
You're like, thanks for helping.
I just loved that little, just like, fuck.
I was in a foul mood that morning.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, what have I done? This is stupid.
Yeah, the second day did not seem like
that seemed like the worst day.
Day two was hell.
Yeah.
Especially like right at daybreak. I took like a 40 minute Newcom. It's one of my sponsors. It's just like great tech that helps bring your body and mind like into theta, or your mind into like theta waves so that your parasympathetic nervous system can take over so you can recover really fast. So I laid down with that for like 30 minutes to try to reset. But when I woke up, I was like, this is dumb. I hate all of you.
I hate everyone.
And when I say everyone, I mean myself mainly for deciding to do this. And then that was right after that. I got on the road. Oh, fuck you.
Just like bringing it right back down.
Yeah. Now I almost feel like dumb because I'm like, I've done that when I'm 2 miles into a normal
I do
run.
too.
On a normal, for some reason, when they honk at you, it's just like.
Well, running across the U.S., you get to where you can identify a happy honk and a fuck you honk.
You're like, wait, what are the differences?
Yeah, it's the length. You know, it's like, like, hey, good time.
Hey.
It's like, fuck. And then when you go running across the U.S. too, I got in a thing to where I wanted to like see how many waves I could get in a row.
Yeah.
And you learn people wave differently in different in different areas. Yeah. And if you can figure out their wave and do it, they're more likely to wave back. Like in Oklahoma, it's real slow and it's up. And if you're like, they're like, but if you like throw it up slowly, they're all about it. And then you get the short honk with the wave.
Nice. Wait, give us, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I love, because even I think new runners can appreciate the mind games you play with yourself as you're running. And the thing I love about both of you the most is how you articulate how running is so spiritual for you and what's going on cerebrally.
Yeah. It's like why I do it. You know, at the end of the day, like now, it's this growth that comes through it. Like with every effort, I become something. There's some breakthrough. I usually spend the next couple months very inspired. I can write a lot better. Like I love to write, but when I'm a couple months past an effort, I get writer's block. Sure. It's like, I think it's all that like clear time in my head that just like all these ideas come to mind, or even they're subconscious. And then in the months after, they're still kind of there.
What's like one of the biggest breakthroughs you've had on a run?
Transcon, there was a lot. You know, that was my first time doing a big effort. That
Lots
was
of opportunity.
Yeah, 43 miles a day for 75 days.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time on your feet. And some of like
with some poles.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, are poles important?
They're very important.
Yeah.
Use poles.
Yeah.
Guess who forgot poles?
Uh-oh. At Leadville?
Dude, I ran past you going out toward Hope Pass, and they offered the poles, and I felt like crap, but was like, I mean, if Adrian's not using poles, and I'm only 2.5 miles behind him, why do I need them? And I found out pretty quick, like literally, you know, when you're going up toward Hope Pass, and you go through the river, and then the trees start, and the trail just sort of zeroes into a single track.
It goes like this.
Goes like that. Right, first step, I was like,
that was bad.
Should I turn around?
Yeah.
And I just kept going. So yeah, poles are important. Very important.
Yeah.
No matter,
like the professional poles are important, right?
They're a big deal.
Okay. I'm going to use poles forever. I get it.
Just checking.
But but learned like the biggest lesson I think out there, like a big like parable for life, was like one day would suck. But the thing is it had no correlation to the next day. The next day could be the best day I had out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's important in life. Like when you're down or shit sucks, like just be like, this is very temporary. Tomorrow could be a much better day.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things. And also I did that. Like what kind of thrusted me into this in retrospect could I only see was processing the 2016 election. Like that was just real weird to me. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I had put up a lot of barriers and walls towards people that I didn't think I didn't identify with because of that decision in rural America. I was just like, And getting out there, I realized that like there's just so much more to us. There's so much more complexities to humans, and there's like good qualities in everybody. Yeah, and we like are a lot of what's going on right now, in my opinion, from that experience is like we're very much victims of these devices in our hands and like the messages that are given to us about how different we are. I mean, there are some toxic aspects of everybody.
For sure.
And so, but anyways, that was a big thing was to see.
We agree with you, by the
way. Do you think it's kind of like how, you know, saying you're vegan, there's so much baggage with that. So like saying you're conservative or saying you're liberal, there's so much baggage. Do you think it's similar?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's so much that's like been built up, not by us as individuals or even as a group collective, but like media has put it in.
Like 5 or 6 companies have fed us this. It's not,
and they've created these divisions. Yeah. You know, I mean,
when if you just,
we're not even getting the same narrative on either side. That's the thing is like the things that on, you know, I'm a very liberal person. And on that side, the focus is different from the focus that has been giving on the conservative side. We're not even like having the same conversations.
Yeah.
But we think we are. And therefore, if you're not seeing it my way, then you're seeing it that way. But those people, for the most part, aren't even like paying attention to that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a completely different
world. It's a
like
different universe.
you're looking that way and they're looking this way.
And if we subscribe to like major media sources, like it's kind of like creating a reality for us that isn't our actually like lived experience.
And confirming a lot of biases too.
Absolutely.
If we're not careful.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and condone a lot of actions on either side, really, but like it's just more of a clusterfuck and messed up than we give it credit for. We're living in a black and white world. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Yeah. So, all gray. Yeah. And was it? I mean, I want to pause Tesla in Texas. I mean, half marathon, 50. You kind of thrust yourself into this Transcon pursuit. Like, were there logistics? Was there a plan? Or were you just like, I can find my way across the country? Like,
it's daunting, and anybody that goes into it without a plan should like stop and reconsider.
Yeah.
Gunnar, did you hear that?
I heard that too.
Thank you.
Yes.
So like, sorry.
You're good.
I decided to do it. I went down to the Copper Canyon and ran the Caballo Blanco 50, made famous and born to run.
Yeah.
And while down there, I met a guy named Patrick Sweeney, who I bumped into today at TR.
Was he there?
Such a small world.
That's awesome.
And he just like in conversations, like I ran across the United States like in 2015. I was like, say what? Like you can do that?
Yeah.
I thought it was just a Forrest Gump thing. And so that's what sparked it.
Yeah.
I came home and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do that wasn't in the restaurants. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to run across the United States. And she's like, okay. And so I said I was going to do it in a year.
Yeah.
So I had a year to train. I'd ran 250 miles and 250Ks going into it, you know, from that moment.
Like you hadn't even done 100-miler.
I didn't until after the Transcon.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
I didn't realize
I love that.
That's awesome.
And, but I took that year, very basic training plan, but just about volume, putting on the miles. But then you got to sell it. You got to get sponsors because it's a very expensive venture.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything about sponsorships now is based on social media. It's the truth. I mean, I don't blame brands. Like that's where that's where the value is. And I had like,
that's where that's where sales is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they can track it so well.
Yeah.
So
it's easy for them to see their ROI. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And at the time I had 800 followers on Instagram. Like it wasn't helping anybody.
Yeah.
So that was a big part was spending a lot of those months just trying to get somebody to back me.
Yeah.
And once I got that in line, it was Not a Moo dairy-free ice cream here from Austin.
Sure. Yeah, there you go.
Daniel Nicholson, one of the greatest guys in the world.
Shouts out Daniel Nicholson.
He backed me, you know, he's like, I believe in you. I believe in this. And we did it to create conversation about better food choices, plant-based diet. So, sorry, this is taking a while.
No, dude, take your time. You said you don't have a time cap. So.
We can go on there. So once I had that in place, it was like late November, early December. I was going to start in March, and I had a real oh shit moment. I was like, all right, now I have got somebody to back me. How the fuck am I going to do this? You know, I was just like, I was scared.
Now I have to.
Now you're locked in.
I'm locked in. Yeah. And we were hanging out with Shelly, my wife's family, over Christmas. And I think they could all see the stress and like fear in my eyes. And they're very competent, capable people who have been in the running space for a long time. And essentially like they just like had like an intervention. And they were like, let's sit down at the table for the next 2 days and let's figure this shit out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we just broke things off and everybody took their thing. And like Shelly's sister ended up being my crew chief.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She like, so she helped do a lot of the logistics. She had done the Appalachian Trail the year prior, plant-based. So she could create like my food plan.
Yeah.
And then her dad handled figuring out the route. And we were lucky we found there was a route that a group of Frenchmen did a couple years before, and they left like a trail of PDFs online. So we started with that. And that's a huge part because you have to run, you can't run on interstates.
Yeah.
You will get picked up by a cop and taken off. We figured that out somewhere around Arkansas.
Nice.
I think it was Arkansas. and then, sorry, Missouri. And
same place.
Yeah, same thing. And so you want a road with a really big shoulder or with very low traffic.
Yeah.
So he went in and painstakingly like Google Earthed it, you know, looked to make sure the roads would work.
Yeah.
So that was, so yes, there was just like all these logistics that had to come together. And I have always been a very fiercely independent person. It's probably what burnt me out on the restaurants. I wasn't willing to ask for help. I wasn't willing to delegate. I was just like, I'll do it all.
Yeah.
And in this moment was like this growth.
This conversation is about Robbie. Not me.
I'm not sure because I'm hearing a lot of similar things.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to run across the U.S.
I've thought about it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll help you. But yeah, so in that, it was like the first part of me learning this lesson of like, it's okay to ask for help. And you can't do everything by yourself, especially something this big. And so they all helped me bring it together. So that was kind of how it all started to coalesce into actually like, we have a plan. Let's go for it.
What was the hardest day on the Transcon?
It started probably on day 3. Day 3, I was like tripping face. Like I was real high. Like everything was just like monochromatic, like colors were weird. Like I was like, had all these like weird paranoias. And then it progressively like got worse for like the next like 13 days or something.
Yeah.
Did it go into like full synesthesia?
It just went into full like depraved pain.
Yeah.
I got like really bad shin splints. And when you're doing something like this, you can't stop.
Yeah.
What you find is like your body will adapt if you can handle it.
Yeah.
And
If you can just push until your body.
And you need to mitigate, there's some mitigation practices. And like a lot of it was like adjusting things, changing my shoes, little things like changing my socks. I was wearing crew socks and we decided that I should wear, one day I put on ankle socks and changing the amount of mobility in my ankle started to alleviate it. So it was like a lot of problem solving. So it was really, I can't say there was a day. There was like a couple weeks. And it like kind of like, I guess it did kind of, the worst day would have been, I think it was day 20. At that point, I gotten over the shin splints, but in compensating for the shin splints, I got tendonitis in the other ankle.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And so I was literally dragging my leg.
Yeah.
And my crew made me take the rest of the day off. I did 13 miles that day. It was the only day that was less than 40, I believe. And the following day, I took the whole day off. So I actually ran 74 out of 75 days. And somewhere in those 2 days was the real low.
Yeah.
But it also provided the opportunity for a lot of growth. And it came in the fact of like, I had to like give up to like the energy of the world, whether like I couldn't put a name on it. I'd say I'm spiritual. I'm not religious, but there was like, it was big. This was so big. It was bigger than me. I couldn't force this effort.
Yeah.
I had to just like kind of go with the flow.
You had to let it happen.
Let it happen and like give myself to the energy around me and like do all I could, but I couldn't just brute force my way through.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was like the worst moment, then followed by like a huge breakthrough.
Yeah.
And that's usually, and now that's what I rely on. When shit gets real rough, you're like,
oh, the breakthrough.
there's some mind expansion.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
gonna
in a
come
way,
out of
that's
this.
almost not that you're chasing it, but like in a way, that's like what you look
That's what I'm
forward to,
doing.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
and then like learning that is like you get into like these really hard things. And when it gets really hard, you got to remind yourself like, this is where I want to be, man.
Yeah.
I didn't, you don't run Leadville because you want it to be easy. You want it to get real fucking dark.
you know,
grow.
Oh, it got dark.
Yeah.
it got real dark.
Oh man. I hear you.
Yeah. You don't
Me too.
delusionally think that you can keep up with Don and Adrian unless you're crazy.
Yeah. Don, what, 13, 1100
Dude,
miler?
Oh my gosh, dude. He's insane. Shouts out Don. And then what is finishing an effort like that? Like the actual, the moment that it's like, I have reached the sand, I've reached the beach, this is over.
It's just so proud of yourself, so like proud of your crew, and like so grateful. Like a lot of gratitude. Gratitude for me having the health and the ability to do this, being bold enough to set out on it. And then also for all those people that helped you get there, whether it be your family and friends that are there, your sponsors. It's just like gratitude, so much gratitude. It's the thing I try to carry with me after. And then it's followed by that I'm getting better at, but I think we all can talk about is like that, like the blues after a big effort. You feel depressed. You don't have like anything to fixate on anymore. You did it.
Plus your hormones are just bottomed out. Like people always make it like you're depressed because the goal is gone. And it's like, that's part of it. But also like
your body's
your body's just like, screw you.
Yeah.
Your endocrine
go to
system
sleep.
is so messed up.
Everything is screwed up.
Totally. Yeah. So, and when you do like Transcon and it's your first big effort, those blues lasted like,
I'm still just blown. That's
still
your first big
stuck on that.
but yeah, those blues lasted
a while.
4 months.
Really?
It was dark. Yeah. And I was told it would be, but it's like when you're out there, you're told like you can even think, you don't have to be told. You're like, is it going to hurt? I'm going to be really tired. Try for day 45.
Right.
You're like, that is to a degree you couldn't have even perceived until you're there. And the same was with that depression. It was like, oh, this is actually really dark.
Yeah. What was the darkest part of that like blues phase?
It was just the lack of direction. You know, like I did a really big thing, and I think it was a very naive thought to think that I'm going to do this and then like the world's going to be perfect. My world, if I run across the US, like birds are going to be chirping, rainbows are going to come out, and that's going to be my life forever. And you get done and you're like, I'm still just a dude. Yeah. I'm just now a dude that's run across the US.
Yeah.
And that was hard. That was a big like, oh shit. Like I'm still going to have bad days, good days, and just coping with that, and learning to be all right with that again.
Yeah.
Do you find that the habit of running and setting out these big efforts helps you cope with that?
Yeah, and you learn. Like I think like big efforts like this, all these different aspects of it, they provide an opportunity for you to get reps, right? Like if we want to get better, if we want to get stronger or something, it's reps, repetition. So you put yourself in these really trying situations, you get repetitions at these different aspects of life. So you learn a lot, you become better at them because you've challenged yourself. Like that's why we need to push into things that are difficult or scare us.
Yeah. Heck yeah. And why do you think so many people are averse to that?
I think we live in a culture that, I mean, we hide pain, we hide it, we dope up on everything we can. I mean, me included. But like, we're just taught from a young age that pain is something to run from, avoid.
Sure.
And the reality is like so many like cultures, like you go through these like really trying things to like expand or to become an adult.
On purpose.
On purpose.
Yeah.
And we have just erased that. So we just are taught that it's like, stay away from that. And culturally, we need to get back in the habit of like challenging ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to hit my kids. Like,
absolutely. Never when they expect it.
Yeah, no, it's always going to be
back of the head.
Yeah, they're going to come through come through the door and just spark. I'm not going to hit my kids.
I'm going to hit his kids.
Yes, I do it.
I'm going to make them run across America when they're 10.
Yeah.
And then, you did Colorado Crush before the Tesla thing as well, right? So I mean, you had a summer of
it was
of pushing it.
Transcon had beat the FKT for loops around Central Park in a day.
Yeah,
which has been destroyed by Oz Perlman.
Whatever.
Fucking destroyed.
Stupid.
You're not bitter.
You're supposed to leave.
He's a good friend of mine. Like sit through that, we've become friends. But and then it was the Colorado Crush, which is a 63-day effort.
Yeah.
I ran the Leadville Trail Series, marathon in June, 50 in July, 100 in August. Between the marathon and 50, I ran the Colorado Trail, 485 miles in 11 days. And then between the 50 and the 100, I summited all 58 peaks over 14,000 feet.
Jesus.
No big deal.
NBD. And this was your brainchild, right? Like you thought of those three things.
Yeah, like the
in
genesis
one, right?
of it,
together.
Yeah, like the idea came through our like that first summer of COVID. Like, my wife was a nurse, so we were very, very strict on kind of like self-isolating. Yeah. She was like a petri dish, and we just didn't want.
Yeah. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't want to endanger anyone else. And in that, like I got very stir crazy. So as soon as like the weather turned and it wasn't winter in Denver anymore, we were like, let's go do some 14ers. And so we actually did like 21, I think, that summer. And but in that, I kept being, I was working for a startup. I wasn't running for like full time. And I was like, this sucks. Like working for this startup, great company, but not the act of doing the job was bullshit. I didn't want anything to do with it. And I was like, I want to get back into full-time running. And I'm like, I'm up here in the mountains and I feel so good. In a time where we're all depressed, we're all trying to figure this whole weird world out that we now live in. If I'd go up in the mountains, I could just disappear from it. And I was able to just like listen to myself, my mind, my soul. And I was like, well, what can I do to like do this for a long time? And I was like, what are some big endurance challenges in Colorado? And the three first things that came to mind was, well, I'm up on a 14er. So I got the 14ers, there's the Colorado Trail and there's the Leadville Trail Series. I'd already done the 50 miler a couple times, Silver Rush. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, could these all be done in a summer? And then the Leadville Trail Series provided bookmarks. There was a defined first day.
Yeah.
There'd be a defined last day. Can you get all that other shit in the middle?
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then it was just like, can you? And then we looked at it and I was like, maybe.
Like barely, but you can.
By the skin of my teeth, I might get it done.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of how it came.
That's incredible. Yeah.
What was the darkest day on the Colorado Crush?
Darkest, the last day, Leadville 100. Fuck. It destroyed me.
Yeah. Well, I think everything else you did up to that day had destroyed.
It was the cumulative fatigue.
Yeah.
But we went into it. It was like, will this be like the strongest I've ever been in a race, or is the wear and tear there?
Yeah.
And it was hard to really say. Like I'm acclimated. I've spent all summer up here.
Yeah.
And I came out of the gates and like 5 miles in, I looked up and Anton was in front of me. I was like, well, this is fucked up.
I didn't realize it was right there.
Real bad idea.
Yeah. Which were you even thinking about that, or you just were like,
I was just cruising, you know? And I was like, yeah, no, it's the strongest day of my life.
Yeah.
And then like, luckily I was like, that's dumb. And then by like mile 13, I realized I was right beside Annie Hughes, who won, the female who won. And I was like, still a bad idea. And right then too, my legs just, if you've done enough of these, you know when your legs are thrashing.
Yeah.
I
Well, I mean, mile 13 is about when you start carving up toward the top.
And it was like before, it was like the flats, like at May Queen.
Yeah.
And it was just like, my legs are shot.
Oh, wow.
And so the rest of it was just like a slog, suffer fest. Like really, really brutal.
Jeez.
So the darkest was the last day. And then in the Colorado Trail, there's a great film about that effort. It's the most, like both of those films I'm really proud of, Tesla and that one. That one is now with my business partner who we've started a media company.
Yeah. Audacious Report, right?
Yeah. With Reese Robinson. He's a great, talented, like video filmmaker. But he couldn't be there the whole summer. So he was coming out in waves.
Yeah.
And what was missed in the film, he showed up on day 6 of the Colorado Trail. Day 2 through 5, maybe he showed up a little later than that because it was more days than that. It was just shitting rain. Like it was just so wet, and it made for just a very challenging run because I was also, we're pretty sure I was the first person to clear the trail for the year. Like I was the first person to
you were the
full.
Yeah. You were leading the way.
Yeah. And I had to do it that way in order to get it all in, but that means you're dealing with a lot of like mud from snow melt.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was just very hard. The mud, navigating the mud, my feet were really fucked up from it.
Like you want to run faster, but you know, you're just kind of forced to do this slog. Yeah.
And my feet were just in bad shape from all the water. So those 2 times, it was like that.
Yeah.
The 14ers were like challenging, but like when you wake up every day and you're halfway up a mountain with the sun rising over the Colorado Rockies, I think every morning I said out loud, like, how lucky am I?
Yeah.
You know, there was
that's
just a
awesome.
lot of like, this is badass.
That's awesome. And I've been meaning to ask, as a Georgia kid, spending time in Texas, I know you had the Alaska stint, but even Virgin Islands, like, did you know you were a mountain guy, or has this all sort of come about as you spent time in Denver, Colorado area?
I grew up in the Appalachians. So like, I was like right in the foothills of the Appalachians. I think I'm just like, I'm a hillbilly at heart.
the Blue Ridge side or the...
yeah, like Northeast Georgia.
Okay, gotcha.
Like right where like Blood Mountain. It's like Hogpen Gap for people that know the Appalachian Trail, like that area. So I've always been drawn to extremes.
Yeah.
Like I've always said like I have to be in the middle of nowhere or in the middle of it.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
Nothing in between. Like when I was in Austin, I was down in the heart.
Yeah, you guys were
like
throwing
in the
parties.
trenches, raging.
Yeah,
and if it's not that, then put me out. Like
put you on Dripping Springs where no one else is.
yeah.
Well, it used to be.
Yeah. So like, and then like, so the mountains always have called to me that like solitude, the beauty, and I think I've just progressively, we gravitated towards the mountains. When we were living here, if we got away, we were going to Colorado.
Yeah,
and then we moved there. So. Yeah, but that was really my first venture into big mountain efforts. I'd done those 20-something 14ers the year before, but this was like, no, I'm going to become a mountain athlete.
Yeah. And what is the difference between like an ultra endurance athlete and a mountain athlete?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot. Yeah, I think there's a lot in between.
For sure,
there's a lot of overlap for sure. But in the mountains, it's just different. Like anyone that like. If you I think you see it a lot with even like Leadville, like people are like, they have a marker for how they're going to do in a race because of how they've done as a flatlander.
Yeah.
And you get up there and you're like, it's a whole different ballgame. Like you get up there and the air's light. It's just, it's a different skill set. It's a different way to move your body. And
it's a different understanding of how your body moves.
Yeah. And it's wild. Like, you can get yourself in a very precarious situation in the mountains that's just kind of harder to achieve on like down here.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And what is your favorite 14er that you've been able to check off?
Well, I've checked them all off. So I would say, the Capitol Peak, the big one. It's the big one. It's like the most scary. It's probably the most dangerous.
Yeah.
But it's also when you see that thing, you're like, holy shit, it's huge.
Yeah.
So that was cool because it really was pushing me out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
There's like actually like some class 5 moves. Like a lot of class 4 scrambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck
Cool.
yeah.
So just more entertaining and fun.
Yeah. And it's just big.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
big.
Just a behemoth.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So what is, if you have one, your favorite day of running?
Oh, wow. I've never been asked that. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just what we do.
Yeah. Totally.
I got one. The non-runner gets one in.
I think to date, the most challenging effort I've done would have been Tesla, honestly. Concentrated really hard.
Yeah.
In that last couple hours, I went into a very like gonzo trippy state.
Just that flow.
It was really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Shit was wild.
I mean, you're
but
cool-
you knew it was coming to an end and had all
Yeah.
these cool people around me that I love. And I've never gotten to that spot. And like at the end of the day, like I'm a tripper. Like I love psychedelics. Like, it's all fun. And if I can hit it from doing like that, it was like, I'm here.
I've arrived.
I think like
I love that. Like the
third
universe
day.
just opened up for you.
Yeah.
And
and
let
it
you
was
see
like,
inside.
It was wild. It was
Yeah.
fun to navigate. And like with every mile, more people started to join from all those that had been there with me the whole time to like others that were just out for that morning. And it was just so fun to share it with such a rad group of people. And there was a Lone Star waiting.
And
at
there's
the end.
Yeah, I love
There was
that.
literally one like
I love
sitting
that.
in the
Yeah,
middle
I
of the
love
road.
that.
One of my favorite parts of the talk. Yeah.
Well, the funnier part is like you're like, I got it, and then you see you jogging a little bit more.
get-
Yeah, you're like, I didn't get it.
Yeah. And like and the funny thing was like I was so depleted that he was like, I put the beer back and I got like half of it in.
Yeah.
And by the time I put it down, I was like, I'm drunk.
Yep.
Which it was cool.
That's fun.
yeah.
Good come down. I mean, we're back at Tesla, so we got the end. What was it like to like do this effort in the area that you kind of fell in love with running? Like,
That was what was really cool about it was that my grandfather, my father died when I was really young. So my main male role battles were my grandfather's. One was like Georgia guy, big farm. And the other one was my mom's dad. And he was born in Brooklyn, very strongly identified as a Texan. Like he was very proud of Texas and he had passed years past, but it just meant a lot for me to do it here. And I felt very close to him throughout it. That was a lot of it. And like, I love like Texas folk music. Like Willie Nelson is like everything to me. In Towns Van Zandt.
oh,
Yes.
Towns.
Yeah.
Our dad gave us both for I think 12 or 13 for Christmas. We each got a Towns Van Zandt CD.
Oh my
that was
God.
like the
That was
Props.
There
you
go.
can now
Our dad
listen.
has some subtle flexes on
Yeah.
like parenting that I'm going to come back to.
I'm holding on to that one.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
incredible. And so that was a lot of it. It was like just this grit in Texas. The grit of Texas is what I love about Texas. Texas ain't pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, like the whole country's pretty. It is. It's just, it's not like that majesty that you get
Yeah.
in Colorado.
Pretty pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
Absolutely.
had this experience when we were camping right next to Twin Lakes.
Yeah.
You know, at the foot of the Collegiate Peaks with Leadville 20 minutes this way and Buena Vista 20 minutes that way.
Say it right.
No, it's Buena Vista.
It's Buena Vista.
Buena Vista.
Buena Vista.
That drove me crazy.
Some guy tried to convince us that it was German, and we were
You're
like,
like, no, it's not.
look, man, we're from Austin.
Yeah.
We've been to Fredericksburg. We know for a fact that
Yeah.
this is not German.
Yeah.
But
I live 30 minutes from there.
Yeah.
I refuse. Like,
I don't get.
I would
it's-
never.
It's a joke, right? Like it's an actual joke.
Oh, you'll be
kidding.
corrected by it from people.
Well, I know, but I'm like, is this a thing? Like, do y'all have a meeting and you
Do
just
they,
say,
like-
hey, are we going to keep it going?
Well,
for
they
the
people
next-
call it
subtle-
BV, which is all right, but it
Yeah,
kind of
it's
sounds like a
fine.
venereal disease.
Yeah, a little.
Yep.
Yep. Beaver vagina. But
Because the lake.
we had that multiple talks about like, oh, this is beautiful.
It's just so in your face. There.
Yeah, it's just-
subtle here.
Yeah.
The
But
word
like
majestic.
Texas is a state of mind.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Amen, brother.
Yeah. And like that's beautiful. And that's what I get in that run was just tapping into this state of mind. And my grandfather was just like, he had all these little sayings, like, you know,
As a
like,
good Texan.
Yeah.
does.
He was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
his thing, and one that I've always held was like, his thing was like, if you're going to shoot, shoot. Meaning like if you say you're going to do something, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And
which is a very Texan thing.
Yeah. And like that kind of attitude, it let me tap into it really early.
Yeah.
And just hold in that space for like 3 days. It was awesome.
That's awesome. And I mean, having done Transcon, having done the Colorado Crush, you know, all the things you've done, did you expect the Tesla pursuit to be that hard? Or were you a little like, I mean,
I knew it was gonna be real hard, but nobody anticipated the heat.
Yeah.
It came on like the day before. And I kept, like a couple of days before, and I kept looking in the forecast. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And it just destroyed me.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
it
that
was
shot
hard.
of you like in the ice bucket, like with everything, and you just can't cool off.
No, I mean, the big thing is you want to get your wrist down in the water.
Yeah,
you know? That and like ice in your crotch because there's arteries there, and like it's to cool you down. It just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Like, the first 2 days were just, and also on day one in the film, it shows like there was an accident, and my van was hit by.
And again, your van,
my
your personal
van that my wife and I had. Drove to Baja and got married in. It was the one that was with me on my Transcon. It's always been with me. I don't fault either party. No one wanted it to happen, but it happened. And it threw me in a very weird headspace.
Yeah.
One, it was like, I'm pissed off. Like, you fucked my van up.
Yeah.
But two, it was like questioning whether this was worth it. Like, people were hurt. My brother-in-law is still dealing with medical issues from it. And that just, there was guilt. There was concern more than anything for him. And then like, is this a bad pursuit? Like, am I doing something that is just endangering everybody's life?
And you're staring down the barrel of 2 to 3 more days. Yeah. It's not like you're 8 hours from finishing.
No. I mean, this was like in the first 50 miles.
Yeah.
And so in all of that, instead of like staying really reserved, I leaned into the frustration and that fear, and I zapped myself on the, like in the afternoon of day one.
Yeah.
And I built up so much lactic acid that like my stomach was cramping through the first night. I couldn't take on calories or even fluids. I didn't piss for 14 hours. So like, you're supposed to do this in a way that you like, you come out of the first 100 miles and no 100 miles is ever going to, I don't care who you are, you're going to be thrashed after 100.
Thank you.
There was like a level of like, not so thrashed.
Yeah.
I was done. You
Yeah.
know, I had pushed through this heat. It was a really bad idea. And then day 2 hit and it was just like still really, really hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I anticipated it to be hard, but that heat factor and that variable that we weren't expecting of the accident made it exponentially harder, like really, really hard, like concentrated effort, like nothing has ever compared to that.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk about these efforts, it always comes back to it's never the run. It's never your like physical body or the action of putting the foot in front of you that is the issue. It's all the surrounding factors.
It's the mind games and all of the variables.
Absolutely. Like with gunners, you know, getting pulled into the med tent for a couple hours. Like it's those little things that happen outside of your control.
Clearly you were fine.
I was totally okay. It was the doctor's fault.
You definitely didn't almost get discharged medically. Shit. I definitely didn't almost wreck your father-in-law's car.
Yeah. Yikes.
It was a whole scramble.
Whole thing.
Oh, whole thing.
Everyone was a rookie that day.
Everybody was a rookie for about
30 hours.
But so it's never just like the act of the run. It's always something else that comes into it. And do you find that that happens across all these efforts and that's kind of what makes it worth it? Or is it something that you try and mitigate?
No, you want to mitigate it. You know, at the end of the day, like all this shit's crazy hard to begin with.
Absolutely.
If you eliminate every variable and you did it in a vacuum, it's not going to be easy. So you want to eliminate them. Like I'm not asking for bad shit to happen.
Oh, sure.
Or even like the heat or whatever that thing is, but they're inevitably going to happen. You know, they're coming whether you like it or
like
not.
you have to accept that it's going to happen.
Yeah, something's going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
I find that makes the little things in your day, like, oh, I got a parking ticket, or, you know, oh, I stubbed my toe on whatever. Does that make those things easier?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm better at dealing with disappointment. I'm better at dealing with anxiety. My wife would be like, "You're full of shit," but I think,
and you're like,
you should see me with that.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah. So you learn a lot, and you learn how to. And it's that idea of reps, right? You put yourself in hard, challenging situations, whether it be this kind of stuff or other things. It's going to make you a more resilient human.
Yeah.
You become more bulletproof.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And then beyond that, obviously you guys are both badasses.
He's the badass.
You're the bigger badass.
America.
A little bit taller.
Leadville.
But you've both said several times, it's not just about you. It's all the people that it takes to make these things happen.
Yeah.
So what what is your advice for other runners or communities? Like, how do you find these people?
We first got to be open to asking. That is a huge component. Again, I was fiercely independent. Wouldn't ask anybody for anything.
Yeah.
And through these things of putting myself in situations of trying to do big shit, you're inevitably going to have to ask for help. So to ask for it, you know?
Yeah.
But then the thing is, like, don't be a prima donna bitch either. Like
Flip it.
Yes.
Flip it.
That's gonna be one of the things.
like when you're out there, like, be grateful to those people.
Yeah.
Like I personally think I've done a really good job of always staying in that space. I don't really get frustrated at my crew, but I've seen people that are, and I'm like,
And it's weird.
yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
These people are taking time out of their lives to like
A lot of
essentially
time.
wipe your ass.
You think I want to be here?
I know you don't. That's why I'm very thankful.
Yeah, and like maintain that. If you want them to show up again, like you got to be like cool.
Yeah.
like there's a lot of places you can put your frustration. Put it in, putting your one foot in front of the other.
just
but
do it
like
that
not
way.
in the people around you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Yeah.
But that gratitude is like, it's vital. You got to have that.
Yeah. Well, it's also really clear that your Wise family plays a pretty large role in all this. What, I mean, I'm just curious, what has that been like for you to like meet this girl and her family? Like really does become a pretty big part of like your pursuits, not just your life. Like what is that like for you?
It's great. It's allowed us to become very close. Like me and her parents. Her parents were with me for 50-ish of the 75 days of my Transcon.
That's amazing.
They crewed me through that. And her sister. And you know, our brother-in-law. They're like, there's just all of them are just so important, and they're always there for me. And then like not to even like she doesn't get as much attention in it, but my mom's very vital too. Like, I come from a single mom, and what my mom provides is like when I see her, I'm like, I get tougher, like because she's just like she's a tough woman, and it reminds me of who I am, and that's really important too. Like they provide all this like this support and this knowledge because they've been with me through it, and my mom's just there to be like, you got this, you got this, and that took some work, you know. Early on, she'd be like you don't have to do this to yourself, you know. We had to be like, you can't say that shit.
Yeah, like that's not what you can say.
I love you.
Like
can't
you're
say that.
you're right.
Yeah,
but
However,
like on the Transcon, my favorite one was like, she came out at some point, and I was having a day, and like I was like wide-eyed, kind of hallucinating, and she goes, "Have you ever hallucinated before?" And I was like, I go, "Not from running."
You're gonna have a drugs conversation
she was like,
right now.
"Oh shit."
Yeah, that's awesome.
there's okay, I'm going to talk about me for a second, but this isn't about me.
Do it.
So I recently blew out my L5S1.
Okay.
My discs from L3 through L5 are thrashed. Just pressing on the sciatic nerve, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
But I look at people like you and people like Gunnar, and it's inspiring. Like it makes me hope. It makes me want to do those things, especially with my brother. There are things that I want to accomplish with him.
Yeah.
Just because I love him so much, and I can't imagine not doing that.
Yeah.
So for people like, I say that to say this, people like me who are in positions of reaching for something and looking at people like you and seeing what's possible, what you do is actually very important, I think. And so whenever you're accomplishing these things, whenever you're setting up, these massive efforts, what is the mission behind you? What propels you?
A little bit. I mean, a lot of it's inspiration for others. You know, when I took on the Transcon, I thought it was about creating conversations about better food choices, promoting efficacy of plant-based diet. That's what I was there to do.
Non-dairy ice cream.
Not a move.
But I what I quickly realized is that was a small component of what I was able to do for others. There were people reaching out online and being like, "Hey, like I have chronic pain, I have this thing, and I haven't gotten out of bed for a couple of days. But watching you get up and do this shit every day, I'm now walking 4 miles a day, and you just don't know who you're going to affect positively.
Yeah,
and I think that is a big thing for me, and I hope." I'm sure of it, and I'll never know completely, but just to be catalyst for change for others, or to be that thing that does motivate. Like that's really big for me.
Yeah.
And to just like boldly step into the unknown and like become legend, you know?
Yeah.
Like I want a story for which if we choose to have children, my kids look back and they're like, damn, daddy was bad motherfucker.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. So it's all those things kind of wrapped up in it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And because running is, a little more heavy on the spiritual side for you, it's a pursuit. There's like an ethos to it.
Yeah.
What is it like for you to have that and also like share it with social media and like, you know, I'm trying to think of a way to phrase it politely towards brands. There's almost a game people have to play now. Like you're doing badass shit and that should just speak for itself. Yeah. But you've got to like have a following for brands to justify it. Yeah. So what is that whole part of this pursuit like for you?
We've talked about it offline. Yeah. Or online, but not on this.
Yeah. And I'm not going to share those messages.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
For me, especially. Like I struggle with like the being an influencer and it's not like what it means, what it projects. It's just doing it. The act of doing it. Like it's hard for me. And the way I'm finding to make it, and this is an active process for me, is becoming more real and really transparent about who I am. And what I've realized is through the years, I've projected myself online as who I thought people wanted me to be. And at the end of the day, that is taxing. Yeah. And it makes it's hard. Everything in life is harder if you're not authentic. And it happens. It just naturally occurs. And to me right now, the big focus is aligning with other people and other brands that really resonate with me deeply and allow me to be my authentic self. Yeah. I mean, not everything. I don't want to be an overshare. Like I don't want to show like my toxic traits because we all have them. Yeah. But I also don't want to paint a picture that's not real. Yeah. You know? Right. And like, also, I think it's important to be myself, but also like not place judgment on others through that. Like a lot of it's like even this, like having a beer and like being on this and there's a beer, I drink beer.
Can I have another one by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, but like I think for a long time I was like, you know, I think a lot of people that follow me are there because they choose to be sober. And I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't show this part of myself. But it's like, there's no judgment. Like I'm proud of them for that.
Yeah,
for sure. This is who I am. Yeah. And I'd hate for you to meet me in person and think that I was that person and then like see me crack a beer.
That's like seeing your mom drink a glass of wine when you're 8 years old and she said that you shouldn't drink your whole life and then you cry on a beach.
That's not a real story at all.
Not a real story.
Continue.
Yeah. But it's just like learning to be authentic, trying to be authentic. Yeah. And like for me, there's like now with social media, there's like all these tricks and these ways and like,
there's
like, you remember like where, and I think it's kind of laid off a little bit. There was this moment where Instagram was like, if you don't do reels, nobody's gonna see your shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I don't want to make reels.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to pull my phone out when I'm doing something that's like,
I just want to do the thing.
I want to do a thing and I'll take a picture and then talk about it. Sure. And I'll talk about it long form in writing because that's what I like to do. Yeah. And I chased that for a minute. And the reality is like, if that's what I gotta do, then fuck it.
Yeah.
Like and you know, I was listening recently to Rich Roll and Casey Neistat, their podcast. And Casey was talking about like being authentic and like the slow game of if you do your thing and do it, eventually it will resonate with others. And I'm really going back on that now. It's just like, do it my way. And if my followers increase, so be it. If not, I'm at a good enough place. Yeah. I bring value to brands and really like quit doing the cheap bullshit of like, giving everybody advice about how they should run when you're just like everybody else and just figuring it out for yourself. And instead, like, I'm gonna just go do big shit. And when I do that, people are gonna hear about it and my following will increase. Yeah. But that's just a mechanism to allowing me to have sponsors
to keep doing
it's shit. Not for that, like, I want to grow it. It's complicated.
Yeah.
You know? But,
right. It's a result.
Part of it's,
it's a result of living.
You have these things you want to do.
Yeah. And this is what makes me allow.
Yeah. This is your living. Yeah. This is your job.
Totally. And I want to share it with others because I want to inspire and stuff, but I do want to do it on my terms.
And you don't want some paradigm on top of you saying how you have to share your life. Because what's worse than that?
And it's like, if you're going to do it right, it's art. Yeah. And so you need to follow your like way. Like for me, like I like to write. I'm trying to become a better writer. And if all of a sudden like this medium that I use tells me it's not about writing, it's about making videos, you're like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go write a book then. You know, like, I'll just switch if that's what it really comes down.
But then, I mean, at the same time, it's like, dude, there's a billion people. Yeah. I don't think all billion love videos.
No.
I'm sure there's at least 1,000.
There's actually 8 billion now.
Well, there you go.
Just as the other day.
I'm sure.
Because we have tallies that are actually precise.
I know.
There's 8 billion people now.
And they're not all robots. I'm sure there's 1,000 that love reading, love words, and actually would love to see like a vintage irunfar.com / Balenger, like vintage Anton Krupicka style blog post. Yeah. You can have that idea for free.
As lovers of reading and writing, you will always have.
You will always have two at the very least.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and it's that too. I think to what you're saying is like realizing that like you're not going to be. No one is going to be for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
So just be yourself in the world. There are 8 billion of us. You'll find your tribe. Yeah. They'll find you. So just be honest. And also like probably like I'm still probably gonna make a reel too. But it's not. Sure. I just don't want to be like bound to doing what is like kind of like now the way to do it. It's like. Maybe tomorrow I want to make one, but I might not make another one for fucking 8 months.
Yeah, you know? And it shouldn't matter. Yeah, especially from a like, again, I get it because there's a for brands there's sales that have to be made, and I get like, oh well, there's this person that's making 2 reels a day, and there's this many followers, so if they're tagging us, that's this many people seeing us. But it's like, you running 280 miles across whatever desert, whatever's next, you're still gonna. It's still 280 miles. Yeah. Whether there's a reel or not, whether there's a brand or not. Still the thing. Like the thing is still the thing, whether a brand says it is or not. Yeah. So that just cracks me up. And I mean, speaking of like, you're still going to do it. What's in the future for Robbie Balenger? Is it of what you can? Are we allowed to?
What you can share? Yeah. I mean, I'm figuring out next year right now. Like I'm finding the right partners for me moving forward.
You're a free agent, baby.
Yeah, kind of in a lot of ways. Not all. Like Newcom's still a big supporter of me. And I love those guys. And Tier, I'm with them with optics, sunglasses. I love their sunglasses. But figuring out some other aspects. If all comes together, I'm really interested in February. There's a trail in Japan. It's a 750-mile loop trail on the island of Shikoku. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. 88 temples within the 750 miles. I would really like to go do that trail and do it pretty quickly. I think it kind of creates fostering an opportunity for spiritual growth. There's 88 temples.
I was like, would you stop at each temple?
Yeah, I would
most likely
stop and pay homage. It would say too long, but like, I need to keep on my way. But yes, for sure. That's kind of like the A goal right now. We'll see. Like this might be dated pretty quickly because as I find partners, it might be that it's not the right time to do that. Sure. I will eventually get there, but that or another long form run in that kind of February time. Yeah. And then my dear friend William Googe, British guy, he is going to take on a Transcon this year. So him and I and Hella are good friends. Hella Sidibe ran across the U.S. like 2 years ago. Great friend of mine. And then William's inspired to do one. So I'm going to be there to crew and pace him. Nice. We're trying to create like some media strategy around it. So
with Audacious or
Audacious is involved. He wants to raise a lot of money for cancer research and stuff. His mother unfortunately passed of cancer. And he's always done all of his efforts to raise money for. And he's like my brother. And so we really want to send it on this one and really create a lot around it so that we can create a lot of change.
That's awesome. My wife ran across the country. She did Transcon with 4K for Cancer, which is a cancer research nonprofit right out of college. So
awesome. Really?
Super cool. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
She's way more badass than
I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his wife's cool as hell.
Yeah, she's really really fucking cool.
I tried to do the podcast with her. She was just like
she's Iron Man, ran across the country, PT, doctor, like all the things. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
he's batting way outside of it.
Dude, like out punted.
We all know.
It's insane. Yeah, she's great.
Wow, badass.
Do you want to ask the last question?
I mean, I just don't want to interview.
I know.
Yeah, let's ask this question. Okay, man, we asked this to all of our guests, and again, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
TRE, you have people that you've been seeing, so we appreciate you taking time to see us.
Thanks for the Lone Star.
Oh, of course,
anytime.
You can always have a Lone Star with us, whether the camera's on.
Anytime you see me out, just let me know. Lone Star's on me.
All right,
we should just go to Whitehorse later. Honestly,
right?
What does it mean to you to be a Texan?
It's that state of mind. It's that grit. It's that lore. It's that romance that Willie Nelson and Towns Van Zandt gave us. It's a state of mind, and it's like it's so big, it's so beautiful. Like I don't know if I'm really saying what it means, but it's that. Yeah. It's just like it's this state of mind, and I can take that state of mind back to Colorado.
Yeah,
I love my mountains up there, but at the end of the day, I'm a Texan. I'm an Austinite. I wasn't born here, but I spent 10 years here. And if they moved some mountains over here, I'd come right back.
Heck yeah. Hey, the Davis Mountains are always there.
They're amazing.
They're gorgeous.
Big Bend down there.
Chisos Mountains, those are always there.
Love it.
Big 3,000ers.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, well, dude, thank you again for your time today. We appreciate everything you're doing. You've got, like we said, you've got 2 fans right here. Wow. So
likewise. I love always have a home doing.
Hey,
100% cool.
We appreciate it.
I listened to it first down in Columbia a couple months ago. I was
no way.
Fucking hilarious.
Thank you Thanks,
so much,
man.
Yeah.
Dude.
Our meddling little podcast.
I know. We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Awesome. Heck yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all y'all. Bye y'all.